What's going on today, guys? We're going to be making lemon squares. If you're not familiar with lemon squares, this is something we do in the United States. We use like something kind of sour, and then you just add like tons of sugar to it to make it kind of sweet and like a little tangy. For the crust of this recipe, that's what we're going to get started first. This is actually a sugar cookie recipe we have on our website. We're going to pop that in the fridge, then we're going to make the delicious lemon filling. To start with the crust, we're going to need 2/3 of a cup of almond flour. To that, we're gonna add 1 tablespoon of coconut flour. Just mixing the flours is usually what comes away with the best texture and just overall quality baked goods. Then we're gonna add 1 tablespoon of erythritol. Now, if you're new to keto baking, erythritol, that's the granular sweetener. That is the best. That's what we use in basically all of our recipes. So that's what we're using here. A 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder. You can just eyeball that. A 1/4 teaspoon of salt, just like a big pinch. 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla extract. This gives it some flavor. You could whisk your dry ingredients together first. That's how the pros do it. 20 drops of stevia, liquid stevia. Almost a 1/4 teaspoon if you like measuring like that. And then here, the important part is room temperature, although this egg is kind of cold. 1 stick of butter and 1 egg. And this is going to be our crust mixture. Then we're going to mix it. Pop that in. Give it a mix. So you see how this is really still kind of thin because everything's at room temperature? We're gonna put this in the fridge so that it hardens up for about 2 hours, and then we'll be able to form it into the crust for our lemon squares. Now it's time to make the filling. We're gonna need the juice from 2 lemons and the zest from 1. So I'm gonna start zesting this one. It's always good to zest before you juice, otherwise you have to zest a little lemon rind, and that doesn't work out very well.
We have a zester. Why are you using that?
I couldn't find it. So zest really adds a lot of the good lemony flavor. Lemon squares, is that like, what kind of dessert? Is that a summer dessert? I don't really know. It seems summery to me. Big at bake sales, because at bake sales, everyone's coming with brownies, cookies. If you come with lemon squares, I bet you'll do pretty well. It's only a matter of time before we have like a big bake sale poisoning story, I feel like, right?
People ideas.
And then we just outlaw bake sales after that. Everyone just stay inside. Now we need the juice of 2 lemons. It's actually about 1/3 of a cup of juice total, so it could vary depending on how big your lemons are. Man, lemons have a lot of juice. Probably need probably 1.5 lemons. So we have our zest and our juice. Now we're gonna add 4 whole eggs and 1 egg yolk. And if you guys have never had lemon squares before, it's kind of like a dense custardy type of filling. Okay, so there's the 4 eggs and here's the yolk. Okay, now this is where most of the sweetness is going to be stored in this dessert, so we're using a 1/4 cup of erythritol. And our whole thing, we don't like to use erythritol as like the primary sweetener. We like to limit it as much as possible, just because like, especially if you're making these for people that don't do a keto diet, they're not used to erythritol, can have like a cooling taste, and people, it's just easier to tell that there's like something weird about the dessert, right? So using just a little bit of erythritol and more stevia seems to be more palatable for the normies out there, like your family members and stuff. So we're gonna do 40 drops of stevia. And then we're also gonna use, this is a secret ingredient to thicken this all up. Beef gelatin, you can also use traditional gelatine, that's the brand, it's pork gelatin. Kind of the same thing. We're gonna use a full tablespoon. This is pretty essential. You can probably get by without it, just the consistency will be a little different. Sprinkle in a tablespoon of gelatin. This is also what we use in our chocolate chip cookies to make them extra chewy, and people love those. You don't need to get the industrial size one, just get a little bottle from Amazon. What kind of works, it doesn't work as good. You could use collagen. It's not gonna work as good, but it'll do a little something. And then all that's left is gonna be the flours. We need a 1/4 cup of almond flour and 2 tablespoons of coconut flour. Now, you can add a little bit more or less coconut flour depending on how much lemon juice you use. Like, I think we might have used too much, so we might need to add to it. Okay, so that's the filling. Now we're gonna mix it. So check this out, check the thickness, because I want you to see what happens in 5 minutes. See, it's like very thin, right? So I'll show you what this looks like in 5 minutes. Okay, time to assemble everything. So this has been chilling for about an hour. And this does need to be cold, otherwise you're gonna run into a lot of problems. This is actually the hardest part, forming the crust. Put some parchment paper down. So you remember I showed you this about 5 minutes ago? It's actually been like 15 minutes, but look how thick this is now. Kaboom! You see that thickness? So I'm gonna start just with a spatula, try pushing this out as best I can. Okay, I'm gonna get in here with my hands. Your hands heat up the dough too, so it makes it easier to form, but you don't want to overuse them or else it'll just be room temperature again. That's pretty good. Doesn't have to be perfect. We're gonna pop this in the oven at 375 for 6 to 8 minutes, and then we're gonna take it out and add the filling. Okay, there's the crust. It's set and it's like still very much on the raw side. You don't want it to cook too much. You just want it to be firm enough to support the filling. We've turned down the temperature on the oven to 350, and let's add this filling. So let's get that in there. Smells very lemony. Just spread that out a little bit. Okay, that's looking good. You could probably do some more lemon zest on top. That would be a nice touch if you want to do that. But we're gonna pop this in 12 to 15 more minutes at 350. Okay guys, the lemon squares are out of the oven, looking perfect. Lesson learned here. Always when you're making one of our recipes, use what is in the recipe post, not what I say on this video, because I mess up. Like I did in this recipe, it was supposed to be 4 tablespoons of butter. Instead, I used a whole stick of butter, double the amount for the crust.
You're Paula Deen over here.
I'm Paula Deen over here. That's why the crust was a little bit harder to form, because there was so much butter in it. It should be easier if you use the right amount of butter. So just follow the recipe in the blog post. They are best served at room temperature, so we're gonna let this come down to room temperature before I try it. Give it an hour, and then we'll try this. And we're back. The lemon bars have cooled. I'm actually not gonna remove them from here. I'm just gonna cut one out. You can either dust it with some powdered erythritol, that's probably your best bet, or you could even do like some lemon zest. And you can see how sturdy and just like, it's a real nice solid bar. You see that? So lemon bars have a very signature taste. Let's see if this holds up to the standards. Whoa. Exactly like the lemon bars I know and love. The first real signature flavor, what stands out to me when you have a lemon bar is like the powdered sugar flavor mixed with a little lemon. You definitely get that with this. This just tastes a little fresher since there's not all that sugar in it. Yeah. It's nice to have a change up of like a citrusy dessert, because a lot of the stuff you have with keto is just like so dense. Chocolate, nuts. This is just a nice change up. I really like this dessert. Link on how to make it is below in the description of this video. Follow those instructions. Don't follow the video instructions because we mess up sometimes. Let us know if you make these. Tag us on Instagram, do all that good stuff. Thanks for watching, guys.